Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Another Nutrition Podcast. And today the podcast title is Truer Than Ever, because this is one of those episodes under the category of wisdom, that cheesy category that I'm getting more and more comfortable with as the days go on. Today, as you'll have seen probably from the title, I'm talking about complexion and I suppose confidence around complexion. Again, this recording, I want to preface this by saying I am recording this intro after having actually recorded the video, because the video was very off the cuff. I will explain a bit more in the video where things came from, where my head was at in recording it. And I will also say, if you're someone who speeds me up because I speak relatively slowly, you might want to slow me down to one speed, because the sound that you will hear is actually from an edited video. And so it was kind of pauses, etc. were chopped out. So it was a bit more punchy. So just to let you know that. On top of this, I don't talk a great deal. I do give a few little tips on like skincare routine, as in creams and ingredients within creams that are proven to have some benefit. But that isn't my forte. It's not my strength. It's not what I particularly wanted to talk about. But it was, at the same time, I thought, so just some helpful stuff. The whole point of this podcast really is just to give away some of my life experience, which is no better or, greatly different from other people's. It's just come from many, many years of life experience with an evidence-based mindset, with, I am someone who researches. And in fact, you know what? I've just thought I haven't got a pen. Silly me. I've just thought, I'll try and remember. I'm going to record something on decongestants, because again, it gives you some context actually now. When a drug is prescribed to me by a doctor, or I go to a pharmacy and a pharmacist prescribes it, I'll go and look stuff up. I'll read some research just for interest's sake, just for various different reasons, and if something comes to my mind. So there's two different nasal decongestants, phenylephrine and pseudoephedrine, and one is over the counter and one is slightly more of a controlled substance. Pseudoephedrine is actually one of the parts that you can use to make methamphetamines, which obviously needs to have some control around it anyway, but it's an effective nasal decongestant. Anyway, I'm going off on one. My point being, some of this wisdom just comes from someone who applies this scientific filter to lots of stuff in their life, looks at evidence, looks at rather than just opinions, or one of my good friends, Shona Virtue, she often kind of jokes or makes points like, oh, I know you don't believe in, what did she say once? I know you don't believe in energies. And Shona's someone who's obviously into the yoga scene, very big in the yoga scene, but she's still an evidence-based individual. And so, but I think she kind of thinks, I think a lot of what she does is like woo-woo and hippy-dippy stuff. But it's like when I talk about gratitude. Gratitude is an evidence-based strategy. There are meta-analyses, and we got people who are maths geeks can look at the science and the statistics around gratitude and how that impacts humans. We know it's an evidence-based strategy. She talks about energies, and I'm like, just because I don't believe there's no scientific evidence for it's when people take things too far and going, oh, you're a fire type, you're a ice type, you're a dragon, this, that, and the other. And I mean, that's all woo, right? And they start saying exactly how, it's just woo. But obviously, sometimes you need to fill your cup. You need to fill your energy. You need to this, that, and the other. God, this is a ridiculously long intro that I just need to stop. The point being is, in lots of this stuff, the wisdom side of things, it's just some of my experience. with an evidence-based filter applied over a long period of time. And likewise, as someone who loves doing social media, loves interacting with people online, loves helping people, loves seeing the impact that my personal skill set can have on people, and also being someone who has got to a point with having very thick skin, doesn't care what people think, is happy to talk about how much they cry at different things. I've built a confidence, and I really want to record you an amazing, I say amazing, but what I hope will be an amazingly helpful episode on confidence. And because it's just such a life-giving thing to have confidence. And I would love for you, and it's something in my friends over the years I've always tried to help them with and instill in them. And so I want to record you something on that. And there's elements within here. And again, I talk about, my experience as a teenager, and then going into adulthood and all these different things. And then just as a male who's willing to be in touch with his emotions, a male who's willing to talk about some of the things that maybe are seen as a little bit weird for a guy to be talking about. Special shout out to Lucy Mountain and Marika Day, who I think get mentions in this. I hope you're still in there after the edits. I didn't have time to go through all of the edits of the thing, but you were big parts of this, and some of the stuff that you've put out online that I've seen and I've pondered and enjoyed thinking about. But yeah, with regards to complexion, this isn't an episode where I go, this is the kind of, because I get lots of compliments on my complexion. It was a really weird thing, however many years, 4-5 years ago, when I just started posting on stories, or maybe I didn't start doing stories maybe until 2 or 3 years ago. But I just started to get all these comments, and people, both good and bad, or even just a bit judgmental. But it's just interesting, again, seeing what people are like, seeing what people are willing to say about other people, and again, maybe how that makes them feel about themselves. But I get lots of comments on my lips, my eyebrows, my eyes, which was weird for me. I've always been told about my smile, and I do have quite big lips. I've been told by photographers when I did some media work when I first started my career. But complexion comes up quite often as well. And there's so much I'm going on. This is becoming a podcast episode in itself, just this intro. Hopefully by episode 4, you're already aware that I am a tangent person, and my brain just starts firing and I start talking, and I just feel like I just hope some of this will be helpful. It will change the way you think about some things. But yeah, with complexion, I'm not going to talk about nutritional strategies particularly. It's not my bag. Maybe I will do something on it, or I'll just talk about it on my stories if you're a keen follower and want to come and ask me questions there. But there are, people always ask me, is this good thing to eat for my skin? Maybe I'll do an episode on all of these collagen supplements, which are massive at the minute. That actually I think might be helpful. Some of the actual evidence around collagen. But again, I'm trying to do this podcast so it doesn't make loads of work for me, because otherwise I'll give up because I'm lazy. But there are times when I've looked at some of the cosmetics research and the inclusion of things like vitamin E within creams, and whether or not that's actually having benefits. And it does seem to, if you can believe the research from these big companies. I do look at some of that research with a very cynical eye, which is not good from a scientific perspective. You should be skeptical but not cynical. But it's very difficult to do when it's very, very industry funded, very, very specific to their products, very, very lucrative. And there is very little independent research in the area. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I do apologize for talking so much. The next 12 minutes is going to be super punchy, not too many tangents, super helpful. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Complete strangers just see you for the person that you are right then and there. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. They maybe judge you. I thought I would record something on complexion for a number of reasons, not least of all this was a blackhead that I had to get rid of, and it's turned into a super red mark. I mean, it looks a lot better now, it's healing up. But anyway, I went to do some stories this morning, and there's a few reasons. I've been talking about confidence, self-esteem, happiness, that kind of stuff, and I want to record this video that I've been talking about for ages, and to be honest, it's coming out in all these other videos on other areas, interlinked areas. And one of the key things that I always say is confidence is situational. And I do think I've got some interesting things to say about confidence and how you can improve it and how you should think about it. Being someone who is naturally born with general confidence. So I think that is a thing. There is a general level of confidence, but comes from many different areas, life experiences, but again, interlinked with things like self-esteem and self-worth. Those two things being different things. So the little thing I wanted to talk about today is just complexion and my own little hang-up. And it's something that I see quite a few girls talking about. And I remember a few years ago there was this like no makeup movement, no makeup selfie thing going on. And it's also just a fact that whenever I talk about certain levels of realness, about happiness or loneliness or difficulties with parenting or any mental health stuff or anything like that, about my personal dealings with those things, troubles, etc., it helps one or two or a few or dozens of people. And being a male, I thought this was quite unique to talk about this. And it's something that when I talk about things where I would lack confidence, it would be difficult in some ways. Or I spoke to a friend and she was like, everyone got something they hate about themselves. And I was like, I really don't. But, I was trying to just encourage her in terms of some of her hang-ups. And so in this instance, this is something that is a big deal for me. Not so much of a big deal anymore, actually. But in my teenage years, it was a massive deal for me. I had my entire chest area was just covered in spots. And maybe this is something, I don't know, maybe if you're a mum or dad who follows me and your child, you've not dealt with it and your child needs some encouragement, maybe this is something you can play for them. Maybe I'll give it that kind of tact as well. Because I had these I say horrific, that sounds really bad, but for me that I really didn't like them. They made me so unhappy and so self-conscious. And someone who played a lot of sport and, sometimes you're taking a t-shirt off and I would keep mine on and, wouldn't want to shower around other people, all these different kind of things, or, be playing football in the summer at the park and you'd be boiling hot and everyone take the tops off and I would want to. But anyway, I personally went on many different types of antibiotics long term, had some topical treatments. One thing I probably would say as advice, and obviously you want to talk to professionals about this isn't my expert area of knowledge. It's something I know a decent amount, I would say, about kind of medications, having worked in pharmacies for 5 years and through my own personal interest in health and reading kind of medical journals and that kind of stuff. But it's still not my area of expertise. Dermatologist is someone who's going to be someone who's got even more expertise outside of the medication in terms of skin health. But using a topical antibiotic for me, no, not for me personally, but in my opinion, is a much better way to go initially than going down the oral antibiotic route. Simply because obviously in your gastrointestinal tract, you have your gut microbiota, and these antibiotics will affect those things. And if you're taking them long term, you might take a 7-day or 10-day or 3-day or 14-day course of antibiotics, but when you're taking 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, a year of antibiotics, this stuff has an impact. And I actually recall a client that Sarah and I both worked with, and she had a cleft palate and she had many operations on it, and she had many courses of antibiotics, and I came to us with seriously bad gut problems that we helped her with. And I still have very mild IBS type symptoms, I guess. Occasionally, if a sensitive stomach, I guess you would call it, but I'm certainly not afflicted hugely negatively, maybe because I have over the years eaten a relatively good diet, decent range of different fiber types, and daily fiber total intake has been okay. But anyway, wow, this has gone mega off topic, hasn't it? This is why I just love talking though. I hope you guys get something out of these. Please do give me feedback. This is what Emma knew you is like. I'll be teaching about a particular area, but I'll give some little insights into related areas that, again, if you're a practitioner working with a client, you need to have some of these holistic views and thinking laterally about a client, not just about the one thing that's in front of you. Anyway, where were we? Happiness, complexion, confidence. So topical antibiotics. I'll just give you this insight. The one that I found really, really good for me was something called Zinerit. I believe it's topical erythromycin, but that might have changed. That product might not be about in this day and age. I don't know. Where was I? I've actually just thought of a topical thing. Panoxyl. It's now been discontinued, but the active ingredient in panoxyl is the one that most people are using these days. I'm trying to think if I've got something around here that's got it in it. Anyway, salicylic acid seems to be relatively good, but it's not powerful enough for people with really bad skin problems. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, actually. Salicylic? Was it salicylic? Anyway, that was the one I'm thinking of. Benz something? Anyway, sorry, I've gone massively off topic. My point being, confidence is situational. And for me, it was something I had a big hang up on. And actually, my face area was never something that I really suffered with. But now when I get something that, it's the differential. And I think this is the two things here. One, my friend Marika Day, I mentioned her in another video recently. She spoke about body confidence and how she basically, I think she was doing like some swimwear modeling or something like that. She was like, never did I think I'd be doing this. And she's a registered dietitian in Australia, but she's very active on Instagram and these kind of things. And in the kind of fitness realms, a very positive influence on the industry and world. So go follow her, check her out. She's cool. She basically said, I'd never imagined I'd be doing this, and wrote the comment that really struck me, which was, no, body size gives you confidence. And it's this whole thing that I have been talking about for years in our body comp residentials, and to encourage others that, no, you see these men's fitness models and women's fitness models, whoever, and you think that they have huge confidence. You see these bodybuilders, massive jack guys, and you think they have confidence. And I tell people, you don't know that they do. And I am telling you that some of the most physically perfect in terms of symmetry and balance and musculature and all the things that, you know, in terms of when I say perfect, these ratios kind of thing, the whole body confidence move, like perfectly imperfect, blah, blah, blah. You know, this isn't about that. The point is this perfect of like perfectly symmetrical left to right and up, top to bottom and all that kind of jazz. They massively lack confidence, and they won't take their t-shirt off if they've had a bit too much salt. I feel a bit watery. If they've put on 2 pounds of body fat and they are 9% body fat instead of 8% body fat, and what people would deem to be 5% instead of 4%, which isn't really that level. And I just hope me telling you that you know I'm trustworthy, that I'm saying this from a perspective of knowing that these people confide in me. And, you know, as much as I try to, I would love for them to speak as frankly and openly and honestly as I do about their troubles with confidence. But the problem is sometimes their career depends on not doing that. So I hope that this can at least hit home to you. And I hope those of you who respect me and realize that something like this, lots of you think, well, that's tiny, that's nothing, you know, I get spots all over my face. Like, yes. But this, I recorded a video this morning, just a 15-second story, and then was like, oh crap, that looks horrible, and deleted it and went to put cover up on, and then was like, no, do you know what? I'm not going to, because I was challenged. This is the second bit, by Lucy Mountain's post. She does this thing, hashtag get your face out, and she was talking about the fact that she's used filters in the past, you know, as we all have, but people, you know, feel like they always have to have a full face of makeup on and all these different things that go with it, and just actually embracing who you are. But it's this differential. I've spoken before about body fat, and actually we call this spectrum here, and if you're in an audio only version, imagine a spectrum, a continuum, a line, and that line represents the least body fat you've ever had and the highest amount of body fat you've ever had, or the least amount of spots and the most amount of spots. And very often it's the differential of where you have been recently, or where you most remember yourself, or where you naturally reside, and it's the differential, the movement away from that point, that often dictates our happiness and our feelings of confidence or whatever at that point, feelings of success. You know, where I have been recently recently, things are moving forward, I feel great. Whereas even when things are going amazingly, but things start to go worse, it feels bad. And it's that change. That's what I mean by differential. That really gets to us. So normally my face is relatively plain in terms of my complexion. But then when I have a big red thing here, instantly it's like, Whereas if I normally had lots of blemishes and I had one extra one, it wouldn't make much of a difference. It wouldn't make as much of a difference. Or if your complexion is really bad at the minute and then it's getting better, even that getting better, you feel so much better about yourself. So just having some level of acceptance around these things. Also realizing how other people see you versus how you see yourself. So complete strangers just see you for the person that you are right then and there. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. They maybe judge you on things. I've spoken about this. Don't judge someone by the chapter of their life that you walk in on. That's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, 15 minutes of chatter. I hope it's helped you, or you can send it to someone that it helps them some way in their life. Cool. Have a great day.